Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Deep True Crime as we dive deep into the case of Barry Morphew. I've been sharing with you the affidavit on what they're using to charge him for the murder and disappearance of Suzanne Morphew, who disappeared on May 10th of 2020 on Mother's Day. And according to Barry, the last time he sees her is that morning that he leaves of May 10th to go to Broomfield, and he doesn't kiss her goodbye. He doesn't wish her a happy Mother's Day. To the woman who has 2 children of his, he doesn't wish her a Mother's Day. To me, that is strange. So we're diving into this and seeing what happened in the case against Barry Morphew. If this sounds like something you want to follow, make sure you click on that like, hit that subscribe button, and click on that notification bell. That way YouTube lets you know when I upload or I go live. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today. We continue the case against Barry Morphew. And we start with the discussion of Exhibit 8. Special Agent Grusing showed Barry a photo of a Google Earth image around his house and results of the telematics of his truck from 2:47 p.m. until 9:25 p.m. on that Saturday. Special Agent Grusing asked Barry if he was preparing for his Broomfield trip. Barry said, yeah, and kind of can't understand this from whatever they've transcribed to whatever they put in this affidavit. He says, yeah, just unintelligible right there. Packing clothes and tools and stuff. That was the quote from Barry Morphew. Grusing asked Barry if he wanted to review the times on the sheet, explaining he did not have much time to cook steak when his doors were opening and closing. As you can see on here, there was a lot of activity going on, as you can see through the telematics of what went on in his truck. There's a lot of activity considering he was grilling steaks, no interference, and was supposed to be focused on their time. So that's a little contradictory as to what he said happened that night of May 9th as well, the night before she went missing. Barry looked at the sheet and he says, and I was grilling the steak outside and probably doing things in my truck at the same time. I mean, I can assure you, we grilled steaks and ate steaks that night. Barry added, I mean, you should have seen the dishes. Did they see the dishes? Special Agent Grusing said Agent Graham found one set of dishes was used. Barry said, we just shared the same plate. Yes, that does happen. When I worked in Outback Steakhouse, this was a couple decades ago, somewhere around there. And yeah, some people shared one plate, but they didn't share it with 2 forks. They had their own plate, cut it up, divvy it up. An appetizer they would share. So, I mean, I feel like Barry has a response for everything, but not everything always adds up. But again, there are couples I'm sure probably ate off of the same plate for dinner. Let me know, do you and your significant other share the same plate with steak, potatoes, whatever else is on there with the steak? And just, I mean, I've never done that on a dinner platter with my wife. Have you? Have you done that with your significant other? I would love to know your comments on that one. Now, while Barry was reviewing the telematic times, Special Agent Grusing asked, you were guessing sex happened what? Do you know when? Barry stated, I know it was after the steaks and before I went to sleep. Again, when did he have time to mess with this truck? Grusing asked if there was a gap, possibly an hour or 2 in between, and Barry said, I don't remember. Special Agent Grusing said agents were trying to fill in, and Barry interjected with, I want to help you guys. I want to help you guys get this clarified. For your sakes and for my sake, I, to this day, don't even remember taking my Bobcat to town to crib to do that Saturday. I don't know why that is gone from my memory, but I just don't recall it. He added, and I told Derek and Joe that same thing. I said because they were beating me up on that time frame, and I'm like, I don't recall that. I don't even recall that. And I know that I went through a lot of trauma before those questions, emotionally and mentally, and maybe that was it. But I got a pretty good memory. But he's not remembering a lot of that particular incident. So it's almost like he's being overly confident with a lot of his comments as to, when you come across with conviction, it's hard to prove you wrong unless you take that lie detector and help them have a little more answers. Special Agent Grusing asked Barry when that last time he saw Suzanne was that night, since he only heard her snoring Sunday morning. He replied, I would say between 8 and 9, if I was guessing. Special Agent Grusing asked if she went to bed nude or with pajamas, and Barry stated no. She never sleeps in the nude. I don't know if she was nude after when we had sex, but I don't know if what she put on when she put it on, but she always puts stuff on. She doesn't sleep in the nude. Grusing asked Barry when he last saw her, and he answered, probably during sex. He added, because like most men, I probably fell asleep pretty soon after that. Grusing said that from the truck activity, sex must have happened after 9:25 p.m. Barry said, and it could have been depending on the light of day then. It was May, so it's still, right now I see it's getting lighter and lighter. So I'm just kind of basing off light instead of clocks. Not unintelligible information here. Clocks. Not too sure what he says in between there. Grusing asked if Suzanne seemed out of the normal regarding their sex that night, considering the affair and fights that week. Barry said, no, I've never had a feeling that anything was different in our sex life. Never. Special Agent Grusing referenced Barry's phone function of airplane mode on at 2:47 p.m. and off at 10:17 p.m. on Saturday. Barry stated, and see, I don't recall that. And I think I told you that I don't recall that. And I'm wondering if that could have been her. Grusing told Barry his phone was back in airplane mode at 4:32 a.m. Sunday morning, asking if he noticed that and noted Suzanne was not awake. Barry shook his head and said, I just don't recall. He added, yeah, I don't recall any of the airplane mode thing. He continued, not saying that I didn't, I could have, because we always talk about when we're gonna have an intimate night turning the phones off, but I don't recall that. Grusing asked about the 4:32 a.m. airplane mode function while Barry was preparing to leave to Broomfield. Barry stated, I know that I could have been in the shower and she could have gotten up and turned it back on if she had turned it off. Easily could have done that because my phone is not with me in the shower. That is a weird statement. Why would she care that much? Get up out of her deep sleep to take it off of airplane mode. Barry, this does not look good for you, buddy. Your responses, I get it. You gotta have some type of response instead of saying, you did this so you're not trackable, because what else are you gonna say? Now, discussion of Exhibit 10. Special Agent Grusing asked Barry to review a series of 20 photos of him walking to the McDonald's trash can. The first few photos depicted him carrying a small item in his hand. Barry said, I know that I had a bunch of crap in my truck from cleaning off my workbench, and I do know that one of them was an old pair of boots that was ripped. And the other stuff, I just don't. Special Agent Grusing said Barry had a small item in his hand and used one arm to push it down, then both to push it further down as Barry was shown the photos. Barry said, yeah, then the trash was heaping to the top, that's why. Just unintelligible information, just sitting in there. Special Agent Grusing asked if the photos helped Barry recall what the item was, and he said, no. It was just probably trash in the unintelligible information. Can't understand what he's saying there. Grusing showed Barry he pushed the trash to the extent his shoulder was in the trash can. Man, if his arms got so deep that his shoulders went in, it wasn't topping above the rear, above the top of that thing. No way. That's gross too. Barry said, yeah, I don't even recall that, but Grusing said Barry returned to the truck, grabbed another item, and walked it back to the trash can. Barry said, yeah, Barry was told anything he could remember helps the investigation, that these appear to be two small items he disposed. Barry said, yeah, I couldn't tell you what that was. Now they discuss Exhibit 12. Special Agent Harris reviewed Barry's left turn from Road 225 to see the bull elk on Sunday morning, looking for the future shed, asking if he had to go up in elevation. Barry said, no, I was just seeing their route. I just wanted to know because they usually take the same route. So if a herd of elk is gonna go up across the road at a certain place and go up there, then that's where I'm gonna go look for their sheds. Special Agent Grusing asked if Barry saw them and continued to look for their route as he went along. He said, no, I just wanted to see the direction because Colorado Trail is right off that parking lot and it's pretty flat all through there and it doesn't start going up till you get up to the railroad tracks. So you can pick them and see them through the trees where they're going. Barry was asked if he was in a rush to get to Broomfield and the elk distracted him. He said, there was no rush to get there. I'm just an early riser and an early go-getter, and usually if an animal gets in my interest, I'm gonna take advantage of it. That's it. But I just went down, I watched where they went, turned around and went right to Broomfield. Agents showed Barry the photo of an SG-11 mini DV operating manual for a camera, which Special Agent Harris explained was recovered in the bathroom drawer. Barry said, yeah, and I never used it. I bought it because I thought I would use it as a game camera, a little thing, and it was cheap and my game cameras. Special Agent Grusing interrupted and said the camera was not found in the search of the house. Barry stated, I don't even know what happened to it. I know that I bought it and it was tiny, and I think as soon as I got it, I tried to get it working and couldn't and thought it was just junk and I got ripped off. Unintelligible information after the ripped off part. Grusing asked when he bought the camera compared to when Suzanne went missing. Barry replied, I don't recall. Special Agent Harris said the manual was found at the top of items in the drawer. Grusing asked Barry to confirm he did not get it to work. Barry said, yeah, I tried to get it working and I couldn't. I just thought. Special Agent Grusing asked if he tried to mount it outside like a game camera, and Barry said no, never. I couldn't get it working. Now they talk about the discussion of Exhibit 14. Special Agent Harris reviewed photos of the safe in Barry's garage with items piled in front of the safe to address his concern that Suzanne took money from it. Grusing showed Barry a photo of the content of the bottom of the safe, noting that the scope looked like the scope mounted on the Chipmunk gun. Barry looked at the photo and stated, yeah, it does. He added, I could have mounted that after the fact. Grusing said that was why agents asked him earlier about the scope being on the gun, clarifying he could have mounted after the fact. Barry shook his head and said, yeah, I just don't recall. He doesn't recall much. Grusing told Barry the serial matches the one on the squirrel gun, and Barry said, yeah, he agrees. Now they discuss Exhibit 17. Special Agent Harris showed Barry photos of Suzanne's wallet, cash, driver's license, hydration packet, medication, and other items recovered from her Range Rover. Special Agent Grusing said that considering the evidence, it does not appear Suzanne chose to disappear. Barry said, and I've never thought that. Now, after being told of the affair, Barry asserted multiple times that Suzanne must have left on her own, which was why her personal documents, wallet, money, and Camelback water pack were shown to him. So that also contradicts a little of what he just said, that he never thought that she would just disappear. Considering the evidence, it does not appear that she chose to disappear. And Barry said, I never thought that he never thought she chose to disappear. But he did say, after being told of the affair, Barry asserted multiple times that Suzanne must have left on her own, which was why her personal documents, wallet, money, and Camelback water pack were shown to him. So that he felt they showed this to him because of that. Hopefully you get that. That's why I'm kind of repeating it in a different way. So now they discuss Exhibit 18. Barry is shown photos of the binder recovered in the search of his truck and the documents inside, which appeared to be mail. Barry was told no documents from EA Outdoors for the Broomfield site were recovered, and Special Agent Harris said Barry previously told agents he was studying documents for his job in Broomfield. Special Agent Grusing asked if he threw the job documents away. Barry replied, no, I left them there for the workers. Should be found, right? Grusing asked if he left the documents in the hotel room, and he said, yeah, I should have. Which they did find documents. They did find some stuff in the hotel room. Grusing asked if Barry told Morgan he was leaving the papers, and he said, I don't know. Everything was so crazy that day. Now they discuss Exhibit 19. Barry was shown photos of the dart boxes recovered from the search and asked if he recalled what all areas around the house he fired them. He replied, no, I don't. I know I have fired from the breezeway before, and I fired them from the garage at deer that were up on the hill behind the rock wall. Now you can see this is attachment 5. Now this attachment shows a lot of the pinpoints where he's saying he was when he's chipmunk hunting. And so this is a photo of the breezeway in relation to the chair where Suzanne was sunbathing on the afternoon of May 9th. And this attachment you're looking at, this is an estimate of the activity of Barry's phone as it appears to move from porch to porch, which he explained by chasing and shooting Chipmunk. Barry was asked if he ever missed a shot, and he said, a deer? Oh no. He continued, no, I used to raise deer. I've shot hundreds. Grusing asked if it was ever fired in the house. Barry said only if it was open in that door in that breezeway, but not inside the house. Grusing asked Barry how he wakes up a deer when it is out. He said, yeah, you gotta reverse it, he continued. Just give it a shot, chemical in there. Unintelligible information on that from the transcription to this affidavit. Barry was asked if he had that chemical at the house, and he said, I don't know if I had any left or not. I don't recall. Barry was asked the name of the chemical, but he could not recall it. He said he could make a phone call and added, I don't recall having any left. Barry said they are fired like a bullet, and when asked if they have an expiration date, he said they have one. Now, discussion of Exhibit 20. Barry is now shown photos of the interior of his truck with the tools, trash, and disorder when it was photographed by law enforcement. He said nothing looked out of place. When asked what was in the backpack, he said clothes. Just clothes for staying overnight. Now they talk about Exhibit 23. 3. Barry was shown the photos of nude women and sexual encounter dating sites recovered from his cell phone. He said he never had a dating website, and the images and websites recovered must have been from pop-up ads when he was viewing pornography. Agents agreed such images and dating sites could have come from Barry viewing porn on his phone. When asked about any searches for meeting girls, Barry said, "Well, you can obviously see that I never looked for a girl on my phone or online. I mean, there's nobody out there. So, I mean, if there was, you guys could. If anybody could, you guys could." Special Agent Grusing discussed the girls and mom texting and said his girls and Suzanne shared things he did not know about. Barry said, "Me and my daughters are pretty close. I mean, if there's bits and pieces there, then yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But if it's a long conversation about, I guarantee you my daughters had no idea about the affair." I do agree with that. And I also do agree that he is close with his daughters right now. About less than a week ago, he had to go back to court to try to get these charges dismissed, which has not been ruled yet. And the daughters were with him. They have been in full support of him having nothing to do with the disappearance of mom all this time. And they have literally not made statements or anything, but by all accounts, from what you can tell, they have been supporting him 100%. I would like to hear their feelings on what they think happened to their mom. Would they say mountain lion? Would they say she ran off? What would they say? I would love to hear their side of this. Grusing asked if his daughter still did not know as someone walked in the room and Barry stood up. Agents followed him outside and spoke by his truck. Barry said, "Oh, you asked me if they knew about the affair. I did tell them." Barry was asked how that went, and he said, "Not very good." Barry was asked if he told them both at the same time, and he said, "Yep, I just sat them down and I said, girls, I don't want to ever keep anything from you, and I don't want you to think bad about your mother, but I think this is important for you to know." And I told them, and they cried hard. They got angry, but I think it was the right thing to do. Now, this statement that he just made, that contradicts Barry's earlier statement that same day to the FBI when he said that he had not told the girls about his affairs. Because earlier he says, and if you remember in the last video, he says if the girls would have known, they would have been so upset. But then here he says he did tell them and they were very upset. So why didn't he just say that earlier? That's a little contradicting. And Barry says, "Yeah, well, I got to get back." Special Agent Grusing said the last item was Barry's texting to Suzanne from July to October 2020, and he was asked why he was texting her. Barry said, "It was just an outlet for me to try to deal with my pain." Barry was asked if he was actually texting her message content, and he said, "I texted if she could see it. I was texting as she was, as if she could read it. And I knew deep down in my heart that she probably wasn't reading them, but it just kind of gave me comfort that I was talking to her." Because again, she went missing in May of 2020, and they find that he is texting her from July to October 2020. Not too sure exactly, I kind of forget when he finds out about the affair. Barry said, "I'll look into it. I can tell you right now what everyone was I love you. I miss you. I'm not gonna stop looking for you. Just things like that to make me feel better. Yeah." Barry added, "And I just assumed that you guys had the phone. But I thought if there was a chance, if she had it and could see something, but like I said, I mostly did to make me feel better." Grusing said the FBI would search with law enforcement for the phone and for Suzanne, asking Barry where he thinks we should concentrate. Barry replied, I would say the river. I mean, that makes more sense to me than anything. I don't understand why somebody hasn't been out there before now. When the river was low, I mean, heck, they spend 140 grand to dig up a job site that there's no way she was at. Grusing said the issue investigators have with the river is Suzanne's helmet being placed away from the bike, placed as possibly a diversion indicative of foul play. Barry said, yeah. And so we're going to stop right there, and we'll continue with the next interview where they interview him on April 22nd, 2021 in our next video. And in that interview, FBI agents showed Barry their audit results and discussed them, directly telling him in the end that Suzanne was not conscious Saturday evening, May 9th, or Sunday morning, May 10th, and Barry agreed with, yeah, that's not a good sign. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any more as we are closing out this affidavit. We probably have 1 or 2 more videos after this, and then we would have gone through the whole affidavit, and then we will continue with everything else and get caught up with where we are today. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today. This is one of the shorter ones for you. Hopefully you get more bite-sized value out of a shorter video, and that way I can make it more easier for you. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit on that like. Thank you very, very much for joining me today as we continue the case against Barry Morphew. We want answers, Barry. Give us answers. Suzanne Morphew, justice for Suzanne. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to serving you again.